guys, Victoria here and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be telling you how I actually remember what I read. So recently I've been getting some comments from you guys saying that if you start revision early, you will forget what you read, and I agree with that to a certain extent. So one way to overcome that problem is that you can review your materials from time to time so that your brain does not completely forget what you have learned. But an even better way to overcome that problem is that when you are studying, you make sure that you put those things under your long-term memory such that your brain won't forget it within the shortest time possible. So the question is, how do you actually remember what you read? Today I'll be giving you 4 ways to make the most out of your brain power, including some examples as well so that you can understand it better. The bad news is that you have to actually put in the effort to put those information under your long-term memory. It won't just happen naturally. But the good news is that sometimes, only sometimes, studying can be fun. So number 1 is to apply the things that you know from your daily life, meaning the things that you are really familiar with, you can apply them into your studying. So I'm sure you won't understand this without an example. So now I'll be giving you 3 pieces of information that you are completely unfamiliar with unless you've done foundation in science. Because I learned this for physics in uni. But anyways, I'll be asking you to memorize this. So for context, E stands for energy level, okay? So what I want you to remember now is E1 stands for Lyman series, E2 stands for Balmer series, and E3 stands for Pascal series. Okay, so these are the information that you are completely unfamiliar with. So how will you memorize this if I give you 1 minute to do it? Now I'll be sharing how I memorize those stuff. E1 stands for Lyman because 1 is like a straight line, and Lyman, especially the lowercase l, is a straight line as well. So whenever I see Lyman, I think of 1. That's how I remember that E1 stands for the Lyman series. And for E2, E2 stands for Balmer series. So how do I remember this? Well, 2B pencils. 2B pencils are something that we are very familiar with. So whenever I see B, Balmer series, I think about 2B pencils. So Balmer series is naturally E2. And the last one, Pascal series, is E3. So why is that? I use PS3 to remember. So PS3. So Pascal series is naturally E3. So some of you might be wondering, why PS3? Because there are a lot of models of PlayStations. There are PS1, 2, 3, 4 if I'm not mistaken. And so you might be confused if you use this to memorize that Pascal is for E3. But okay, so there are a lot of PlayStations, but the one that I owned when I was little was PS3, so that's how I remember. This is what I meant when I say you can apply those things from real life. Maybe someone else owned PS4, but I own PS3, so that is how I remember that Pascal series is E3. So I hope that you understood the example that I have given you. Now we'll move on to number 2, which is to put your name and your friend's name into good use. And this is one piece of information that you might be familiar with. It's from chemistry. So how do you convert mass to number of mole? This is a very common step that you have to do whenever you come across chemistry questions. And how I remember this is that I use this triangle right here, M and M stands for mass, N stands for number of moles, and MM stands for molar mass. This triangle is very useful for conversion purposes, but how do I remember the position of the M, N, and MM? Because sometimes I might be confused, right? So this is how I remember it. So I actually used a phrase to remember the position of it, and the phrase is me and mighty mine. So why did I use this phrase? The reason is because when I was in Form 4, I joined the Mighty Minds competition, and when I was in Form 4, I learned about that formula, so I was applying what I know. So whenever I am in doubt about the position of the M, N, and MM, I just use this phrase E and Mighty Minds. The initials of all these will tell me the position of this. So me, M will be at the top of the triangle, and then N will be bottom, and MM will be bottom as well. So another triangle that I use for chemistry is this one, V and MV. So you can use this to convert volume to number of mole and volume to molar volume. V P and MV, this triangle is also very useful. And how do I remember the position of the letters? Well, I'm a bit embarrassed to say this, but I use the acronym Victoria New MV. MV stands for music video, so I imagine that I have a music video, so Victoria New MV, and that is how I remember the position of the triangle. V will be on top and then N will be bottom, Mola volume MV will be bottom as well. Honestly, the phrases that you use to remember these don't have to make sense, and make them as funny as possible, because you are the only person who needs to use that acronym or that phrase to remember. So make it such a way that it will stick into your brain forever. I mean, just judging by the fact that I can still remember these two phrases, although I created it 2 or 3 years ago when I was in Form 4, shows that you can remember something when it is funny. You can remember it for a long time. So similarly, you can always use you and your friend's name to create these phrases like the ones that I created, and it's even better if you and your friends study together and you all come up with funny phrases together, because sometimes we forget those phrases, and when that does happen, you can at least ask your friend like, okay, what was the sentence that we used to remember this the other day? And at least she can remember, and this is what I always do with my friends. Number 3 is something which I depend a lot on, and it's acronyms. I think it's no secret that I love acronyms a lot, and I have shared some acronyms with you guys as well, and I know that you are requesting that I do a biology acronym video, and I'll get to that soon. But for now, here's an example from biology. Let's say I want you to remember this piece of information. So sperm fuses with ovum to produce a zygote, and then from zygote it will become a morula, and from morula it will become blastocyst, and finally embryo. So how do you remember these? So the acronym that I use to remember this sequence is Zane must be every father, and this acronym doesn't even make sense, but this is what I used to remember, and I created it back when I was in Form 4, and now I still remember it. So sperm and ovum, you have to remember that they fertilize and they fuse together, and then Zane, so zygote, and then must be morula, blastocyst, every father, embryo, fetus. So that's how it works. Acronyms are literally so useful, and I encourage you to use acronyms whenever you can in order to strengthen your memory. The 4th way is to use your imagination and your visualization. So I'll be using an example from biology again to help you understand this. So I'll be using this process of meiosis, and as you all know, meiosis is divided into 2 parts. There's meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. And a favorite question for meiosis is they will either ask you to draw the diagrams or label the diagrams. And back when I was in Form 4, something which confused me a lot is between anaphase 1 and 2, because as you know, in anaphase 1 there were homologous chromosomes, and then in anaphase 2 sister chromatids were being separated. So something which confused me a lot is I couldn't differentiate between anaphase 1 and 2. So what I did to overcome this problem is that I imagined teddy bears being pulled apart in anaphase 1, because if you refer to this diagram of anaphase 1, you'll see that those homologous chromosomes actually look like Mr. Bean's teddy bear. Yeah, it looks like the teddy bear being pulled apart. So whenever I think of anaphase 1, I will just remember teddy bears being pulled apart. So I have no problem differentiating between anaphase 1 and anaphase 2. So another example of using your visualization and imagination is how to remember the corpus luteum structure in the ovarian cycle. So I'm not sure if you guys have reached that part yet, probably not, but you'll be learning about this if you are taking biology for Form 5. And there is a structure called corpus luteum in the ovarian cycle, and a favorite question is they will ask you to identify which is the corpus luteum. So I looked at the structure of the corpus luteum and I was thinking, okay, so how do I remember this? Well, at that time, I was actually in tuition class with my friend, and when we were learning that structure, she told me that the corpus luteum kind of looks like a popcorn. And when I looked at it, I agreed with her, it does look like a popcorn. So that is how I remember the structure of corpus luteum. whenever they provide a diagram and they ask me to identify which is the corpus luteum, I will just look for the one which looks like a popcorn, and that is corpus luteum. So since then, I had no trouble identifying the corpus luteum. And another advantage that came out of this corpus luteum popcorn thing is that the function of the corpus luteum is to secrete progesterone. So how do I remember this? Well, because corpus luteum kind of looks like a popcorn and it secretes progesterone. Both are P and P, so that's how I remember that corpus luteum secretes progesterone. So two advantages to this. This makes it easier to remember, right? And also some of these ways makes learning fun as well. You can get some laughter out of it sometimes. But anyways, those are the 4 ways that I use to memorize all the stuff, and those ways have always worked wonders for me. I mean, you have to actually put in the effort and decide on which way you want to memorize those stuff, but once you come up with the right way, you will remember it for a long time, maybe even for 3 years. Be sure to remember to like this video if you found it helpful in any way. Also, if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel down below and turn on the notification bell so that you are always notified whenever I post new videos. That's all for today's video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next one.